In the beginning of 2021, the Super Sentai franchise was a bit behind on its movie schedule. Due to world events, Kiramager still had no standard summer movie double billed with a Rider movie, and the big anniversary season after Kiramager was already on the horizon, which resulted in a solution in the form of the Super Sentai Movie Party. This event saw the premiere of 3 separate unrelated movies for 3 separate unrelated Sentai seasons, all in the same theater time block. Now that it's been over a year since all these movies came out and all the corresponding shows are over, I've decided it's finally time for me to talk about these movies because I am horrible with scheduling. But at least I can let you know that if you're interested in my bigger, broader thoughts on all 3 of those seasons, I actually have full reviews for all 3 of these seasons that I will leave in the description. So be sure to subscribe to this channel and go check out those videos once you're done with this one. But now let's talk about the Super Sentai Movie Party, or the individual parts of it. Mashin Sentai Kiramager the Movie Bebop Dream is a satisfyingly simplistic movie, just like the season itself. It's not really trying to do anything too big or extreme, and it also doesn't really drag on or feel too rushed. It's just an incredibly solid movie. A big part of this has to do with the fact that this is actually 10 minutes longer than a lot of other recent Sentai movies, even like older Sentai movies, like the Majin Ranger movie I think is a bit shorter, and it just kind of helps with the whole pacing of the movie. Another big positive for this movie, in my opinion, is the whole theming of dreams, the bebop dream in question. I don't know where they got the word bebop from, but whatever, it's fine. There are so many random, seemingly unrelated locations, but because the whole film is just inside someone's head, it doesn't feel too random or unrelated, or I mean, it is random, but they are related, so it all flows together really nicely. I usually don't talk about the filming locations in stuff, but the locations are really nice here, and it makes the film so aesthetically pleasing to look at. The rain fight scene that dirties up red and yellow just feels incredibly brutal, and then it makes the meadow of flowers afterwards just all the more beautiful to look at. I also really love that the mecha fight at the end utilizes the recurring Kiramager aesthetic of darkening the environment so that the mechas like literally glow. Like the lights that glow look fantastic, and it's always just so awesome to look at in fight scenes. The dream aspect also creates a really interesting mystery as well, as a big plot of the movie is just, you know, the mystery of whose dream this is, and the characters go around looking for whose dream this is. And then the reveal at the end was genuinely surprising for me personally, and it just made the movie all the more enjoyable. My only issue with it is just the villain whose name I can't remember. I kind of just wish she was explained a bit better, because apparently she's had this dreamstone thing for the entirety of Kiramager up to this point. This movie takes place like around the halfway point. Only now she appears to enact this big old plan that like puts a bunch of people in dreams. So, you know, I'm just kind of curious, like, where was she this whole time? What was she doing? Or like, why did she just choose only now to use this dreamstone that is apparently like somewhat powerful? Yes, it's a problem that most Toku movies have, I think, with their villains, but at least here it stuck out to me because it's really the only big issue I have with the movie. Because the movie is like really integrated into the main Kiramager season. There are a lot of callbacks to like some prominent episodes of the show, like the rugby monster and Shigeru's whole head contraption device are like from the early episodes. Zabune pointing out that the villain of the movie was the sister of the witch from the actual show that cursed him just adds this really interesting weight to the final battle, and it just makes it like all the more strange they didn't really explain where this villain has been, because they acknowledged the similarity to another villain and even made that part of like the whole backstory of the film. So I don't know, but I'd say that the biggest reason this movie was so enjoyable is that it really utilizes the Kiramager cast to its fullest. The characters were my favorite aspect of Kiramager, so it was really nice that each of them were given some kind of standout moment throughout the film. Juru, Tamatomo, and their machine are pretty much the driving force of the plot, while Takemichi gets a really awesome fight scene in the beginning and the end, and then the remaining trio kind of has a whole bunch of hijinks while their machine fights the kaiju. We even get to see Sky Mage return and actually have like a big fight sequence. Even Garza gets a whole moment with like all the explosions before he just leaves. I love that we can even give him his own moment in this film. But obviously the best moment in the film, and maybe all of Kiramager, is that the PPAP song is canon and was sung by Mr. PPAP himself.
PPAP.
Throughout the show, there are so many teases to the fact the PPAP guy is part of the cast. Like, he'll do part of the song, or other characters will do a pose from the song, and they're always like teasing us with it. But finally, in this movie, the actual song plays, and he actually sings and dances to it in universe. It has some plot relevance because it wakes up the other Kiramagers, and it's also like completely unexplained. Like, there is no in-universe reason given for like what this song is that he's singing. It's just a moment purely for those in the audience who are aware of the actor and what the actor's done in the past, and it just makes it all the more insanely enjoyable. Even if it was delayed, I'm glad that the Kiramager movie just got to function as the standard Sentai movie it was intended to be, because it was just such a joy to sit through. Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger Special Chapter Memory of Soulmates is certainly a special chapter for Ryusoulger. It's kind of hard to talk about this thing because it's shorter in length than a normal Sentai episode, and then it doesn't really do much of anything. I certainly enjoyed it because I love Ryusoulger and I loved getting to see the characters again in their prime, and I don't want to say this special feels tacked on, but it does kind of feel tacked on, or like it exists just to satisfy people who complained that Nada left the show so soon. I mean, it takes place right before he left in the actual show, so it kind of revolves around him and his relationship with the main team. It has a little bit of explanation for stuff that happens later, like when he mentions that the power of the armor of Ryusoulger is gone, it's just a hunk of metal. And I think there's also a really cute moment when Mel is talking about where Ryusoulger should go in the team pose now that he's on the team. I thought that was really neat. But since I never really had a problem with Nada leaving Ryusoulger, I enjoyed seeing him back, but I didn't really need this little snapshot into the moments before he left. There isn't even a fight featuring Ryusoulger against the other Ryusoulgers. Ko transforms for like 2 seconds, literally, and it honestly feels more tacked on than anything. The civilian fight was way more interesting because, I mean, they kind of explained why it happens, why no one transforms, but then they don't have Nada participate in that fight. So it's like, if the point of this was to have Nada with the team, we don't even have him fight alongside the team, whether or not he was morphed. So I don't know, I don't understand the point of that. It's also really funny to me that the Minosaur is for some reason identical to its host, which is something no other Minosaur has done, and it's only done because I assume this was so low budget that like they couldn't make a new suit, but it's actually kind of clever. And of course, I love seeing Ryusoulger back. He's my favorite Sentai villain, and I love how the special opens on him using a disguise to create a Minosaur, which is one part I loved about him in the original show, and then he makes a funny sound later on. So while this special chapter feels unnecessary, I don't hate that it exists. It was a fun reminder of a season I really enjoyed, and it kind of prepared me for the other Ryusoulger movies I still need to watch. So if you want to see those as soon as possible, be sure to check out the $2 tier on my Patreon. It's one of the exclusive perks. You get to listen to the extended audio as soon as I'm done recording, and you also get to watch the video as soon as I'm done editing. So be sure to check out the link in the description. Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger, the movie, Red Battle, All Sentai Rally, made me miss Zenkaiger. Hi, Majin! To me, this just felt like a higher budget, anniversary-focused episode of Zenkaiger, which is, I guess, what it was meant to be since it was the first thing released for the season, but it takes place a few episodes into the show chronologically, so it's like introducing us to all the elements and characters of the season without treating them like they're brand new in the universe, and I think it does that successfully. Watching it after the season has been over is just a fun nostalgia trip, I guess, but the show actually hasn't been over that long. I just really miss Zenkaiger. I love how, because this was meant to be their introduction, each member of the team gets a lot of standout individual moments. In the first fight, everyone gets a whole segment dedicated to them, showcasing their personality. The middle half of the movie is all the characters separated into their own personal environment, so we kind of get a sense of who they are outside of the suits, and since we have Kaito and Juran together, it kind of emphasizes that relationship. And then in the final fight, they each demonstrate some special power or ability they all have. Even Sechan gets a moment to just scream his head off, but the S is silent. So it's a nice intro for the characters if you don't know any of them, and if you do know them, then you just kind of get to enjoy what you like about them in the first place. I like that the movie even continues the meta elements of Zenkaiger. Like, the beginning uses clips from the Kiramager and Ryusoulger movies from the Super Sentai movie party, so it kind of links this whole event together. And then at the end, Kaito addresses the audience to tell them about when the show is going to air, which he then does again in the finale of the entire season. The returning villains are fine. Bosco and Zamigo are the only ones that really give off any sort of personality, but I haven't seen Gokaiger and I don't like Lupat, so I kind of don't really care. I get to see other Sentai monsters, I guess. It is stunning to see the Reds of the teams the Zenkaigers reference hand back their transformation devices, and then to see all of the Reds assembled behind the Zenkaigers is awesome, but they never get some sort of actual fight scene, so it just kind of feels cheap. The anniversary element of this movie specifically feels cheap. It makes me much happier that, like, this isn't what the show was, that they kind of had a more unique approach to the anniversary aspect than just, look, it's Bosco. You guys love Gokaiger, right? Look, it's Bosco. There you go. Anniversary. Honestly, the explanations were cooler because it ties into the Zenkaiger lore. The all red gear is said to be a prototype of something, and then you can interpret that to be like a prototype of all the other gears since they all have a Red Ranger face on them, or even like the Zenryoku cannon, I guess, since that kind of summons characters the same way this thing does. Also, when Gigi says they should use Super Watermelon Worldo, his eyes light up, his voice gets high-pitched, and then he talks about, like, literally using the gear, how he thinks it'll be interesting, just like he does in the finale of the season after certain reveals come to light. So whether or not the writers knew exactly what they would be doing for this character, they were certainly laying the groundwork for something to happen before the show came out. I mean, remember, Zenkaiger has no plot. It doesn't focus on its plot at all. Okay, but my favorite part of the movie is when Aka Ranger says all these nice things to Kaito, and then he discovers Zenkaiger isn't red, and then he just kind of seems like he wants to take it all back. Just kidding, it's actually when Drudan says a party isn't a party without pizza, because that is so goddamn true. Like, what an awesome uncle-in-law he is. Okay, yes. Hi, Majin. Obviously, my favorite part of the movie is Majin. I love the spells she uses. The shields she uses as her spells are so cool, especially when she protects civilians with it, like a badass superhero. She's my superhero. And then later, she's like the one who points out that Drudan's sweat is what loosened up the chains, because she's just incredibly smart. I wish I was as smart as she was. And then when she untransforms, she's just so gosh darn happy, and it makes me very happy. And then Drudan has to remind her about her customers. She's a businesswoman doing what she loves, her fortune telling, and she has customers for that, and that's so cool. And then when she says bye to her customers, she says it in straight up English. And it sounds so cute. I haven't stopped thinking about it. I miss her. So the Zenkaiger movie was, I don't know, I wouldn't really call it a movie, even though they call it a movie. It was like a normal episode of Zenkaiger, which is to say, it was a very enjoyable episode, just maybe nothing that special. So looking at all three movies together, it must have been so cool to just watch all of them when they were released in theaters, because they all play such different roles for the 3 seasons they're connected to, and they're just a great experience for any Super Sentai fan because of this. I'm really disappointed that this seems to be a one-time thing, because it was a fantastic concept, and I'd really like it to see return. Like, Donbrothers gets a movie, we get a look back at Zenkaiger, and then maybe just some weird thing for Kiramager. Like, that would be so cool. Oh well. Once again, be sure to check out my season reviews if you're interested in my in-depth thoughts on those shows. Check out the Patreon in the description, and consider subscribing to the channel for my current and future Super Sentai thoughts, and I hope to see you next time.